Every month, gameranx sorts through the absolute barrage of iOS and Android games and finds you the best ones. I'm Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 best new iOS and Android games of February 2018. Just a quick disclaimer, these are the paid games. We also do a free games list every month, and that will come in a couple days. Number 10 is Dev Tycoon. Now, this kind of game specifically is becoming a big thing. There's more than one franchise like this. You've seen GameDev Story, you've seen Game Studio Tycoon, in fact, you've seen several of those, but this is the full PC experience from the game developed and released in 2012. And in some ways, it's a little less of a mobile feeling title, but in others, it is the original. A lot of the ideas came from this game, and it's a faithful port, it plays well, and it's fun. Number 9 is Earth Wars. Earth Wars is a 2D action game, side-scrolling with some pretty interesting enemy encounters, highly customizable characters, and a fairly simple premise. But don't let that fairly standard sounding set of features turn you off. It is actually really fun. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of a fighting game the way it moves, however with a little more mobility, obviously. If juggle combos are your thing, you can do that. If guns are your thing, you can use them. It's a really flexible, fun game that gives you a lot of wide experience for an arcade side-scrolling battler, and I do enjoy the art style quite a bit as well. Certainly worth a spin. I would say one of the better games that came out this month. Number 8 is Kitty Power's Love Life, which I don't even know what to call it. It's a city builder slash kind of a dating sim, but not really, but yeah, really. I wouldn't call the city building portion of it deep, but essentially you work on pairing up couples within this city that you have some kind of weird ability to plan as well as set up couples in. It's really a bizarre game. If you like it, it's probably because you have bizarre taste. But it is actually a lot of fun. Like, it's often tough to find unique stuff, and this is a unique game. It is so far off from what you expected. Apparently, this is the sequel to another game that I've never heard of, Kitty Power's Matchmaker, and it's certainly unconventional in its presentation, but I don't know, it really absorbed me. Number 7 is Dig Dog Treasure Hunter, which accurately describes itself as a roguelike treasure hunting digging game. You run around a fairly stylized top-down world digging for bones and treasure while trying to avoid getting killed by weird monster things. It's kind of like if Metroid was a treasure hunting game rather than an action game. It's very stylized, keeps a very minimal color palette, actually has pretty good precision mechanics that I enjoyed using, and because of that, it is important to know that it is compatible with game controllers, because sometimes the on-screen controls are going to frustrate you in any platformer. Technically, you could play it forever too, and I definitely will be playing it for quite a while. I am enjoying it. Number 6 is Dandara, a Metroidvania with a heavy emphasis on gravity-defying platforming that will satisfy anybody who's looking for something unique in a platforming experience. This is not a randomly generated experience by any means. The level design, by the way, thankfully is phenomenal. As far as a Metroidvania, this is a step forward. There are a lot of new ideas on display for the genre, and to put it best, it's literally going to take you from the world if you're a fan of Metroidvanias or physics platformers or anything that defies gravity, because it's got all of it, it's integrated it so well. The touchscreen controls are actually phenomenal, but you can also play with a gamepad if you want. The combat feels very natural, as does the movement. It's really just a phenomenal game, and you need to check it out. Number 5 is Bring You Home, a colorful, absolutely gorgeous puzzle platforming game. Though the graphics are absolutely wonderful, the real attraction here is the mechanic. You see, instead of playing as the protagonist, you play as the level. You are in control of the level as you rearrange stuff in it, put pieces together, change things, and attempt to find the right path. Or if you're particularly sadistic and find things amusing that might be a little bit macabre, finding the wrong path can be pretty fun as well. I really enjoyed how open-ended this game is in allowing you to enjoy it. They don't corral you into any specific style of play. They don't try to force anything on you. It really comes together as a humorous, beautiful, kinda sandboxy puzzle adventure game. Number 4 is Pako 2, an arcade driving game that places you in the shoes of a heist getaway driver, meaning you need to pick up a crew of criminals, from where they're pulling off their latest heist and get away from the police. And being it is very arcade oriented, you can probably predict how it plays, but it does it very well. On top of that, the art style, the color palette, pretty much all aspects of this game were crafted with love very clearly, and it has a killer soundtrack. This is a game that will weird you out with a lot of the little details, where a lot of mobile games kind of just assume that you're not going to look for them. There's tons of these little things that you're like, wow, why did they even do that? But in a good way. Not just a time waster, this is an addictive arcade game. I love it. Try it. Number 3 is Dragon Lapis, which is in every way a very old school JRPG style game. And when I say that, I don't mean the kind of knockoff we've seen endlessly. I mean both a sort of homage as well as some actual development, where a lot of the action mechanics are absolutely just right out of a mid-90s Square game. It takes some of the good stuff from a lot of different games and incorporates it into one. For instance, it has a job system as well as a growth plate system, which allow a level of customization to the characters that I think really brings something to it that maybe wasn't there in the 90s, without really messing with the experience. If you're a fan of old Square games or Dragon Warrior and don't want any freemium BS clogging up your JRPGs, here you go. This is what you've been waiting for. Number 2 is Florence, an interactive storybook from the lead designer of Monument Valley, about a young woman named Florence Yeo, who's stuck in a routine but gets into a relationship that, well, makes her life a lot more interesting. Now, it's not just a turn-the-page story, it's actually told through mini-games, which is an effective way of handling it and making the game a lot of fun and varied in experience. It's also really funny sometimes. Just the juxtaposition of the mini game and the fact that you're fighting with somebody. It's just an interesting game. It's worth a try. I know it's really different, but I would say it's different in a good way. And finally, number 1 is Alto's Odyssey, a sequel to Alto's Adventure and a game that builds on the original's, well, frankly, very high quality baseline, expanding on a lot of the ideas that made Alto's Adventure a worthwhile endless runner as opposed to just another one. There's 4 different themes of mountain that Alto runs down, and let's just go ahead and say this, they're all gorgeous. Everything about this game is so much prettier than an endless runner has any business being. They've added some new moves such as a wall ride, and basically does everything you need to do to create what I would call a phenomenal sequel. It builds on the original game, adds a few mechanics, tightens the design, and the visuals are just on another level, which not that the first ones weren't, it's just amazing to look at. Perfect sequel, get Alto's Odyssey. What was your favorite iOS or Android game over the past month? Leave us a comment, let us know if you enjoyed any of our recommendations, and press like if you enjoyed the video. If you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do it. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.